Hello there, and welcome to the G Woman Media Voices of Influence, where we celebrate women who are leading with purpose, creating impact, and using their voices to inspire change. My name is Frankie Picasso, and today I have the pleasure of introducing you to a guest that understands something that many people overlook. Money is rarely just money. It's about our dreams, our fears, our relationships, and the legacy we hope to leave behind. Joining us is Karen J. Lee. She's an award-winning certified financial planner, wealth advisor, author, and a nationally recognized financial expert. For nearly 40 years, Karen has helped hundreds of families, individuals, and business owners make confident financial decisions while bringing compassion and clarity to conversations that many people find overwhelming. She's also the author of It's Just Money, So Why Does It Cause So Many Problems? A title that perfectly captures her belief that understanding our relationship with money can be just as important as understanding our investments. So welcome, Karen.
Thank you for having me. What a lovely introduction.
I bet there's all that stuff you didn't know about yourself.
Very nice to hear it.
Yeah, I know. So we like to talk about the origin, your origin story. So every influential woman has a defining beginning. So looking back, what experiences first sparked your passion for financial planning? And how did your journey from architecture to becoming a nationally recognized financial advisor shape the leader that you are today?
Great question. I'd say the earliest influence was just this random event that happened when I was 14. I lived in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I was going somewhere with my mother to the grocery store, I think. And you know how you don't want to be seen with your mother when you're that age. So I waited in the parking lot while she went in and ran her errands. And out of the blue, I felt like I got a message. Like this thought came into my head and it said, you are going to do something to help a lot of people in your lifetime. And I was struck by why I would be thinking that thought and where did it come from? And just in my own upbringing, I decided it was a message from above and just kept it in my back pocket the rest of my life. Like, what is it I'm supposed to be doing that will help a lot of people? And then I went to school to become an architect, but not because I loved architecture, had some deep connection to it. I bottom line didn't know what else I was going to do. And my parents were only willing to send the 3 children that they had to school, to college, if you had picked a profession. So I'd already, I'm the youngest. Brother was a doctor, sister was in engineering school, and I had to pick, become a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant. So I read about architecture one day, and it said that you would be making an influence in people's lives by designing the space in which they lived. And I thought, perhaps that's it, my purpose. And went to architecture school. And within the first year, I thought, I'm not very good at this. Or more importantly, I guess I said, I'm not excellent at this. But I also still didn't know what I wanted to do. So I followed through on a 5-year program and became an architect. And after my second job as an architect, it was very clear to me there were reasons I was not going to continue. And a lot of them were gender inequalities at the time. This was 40 years ago. But even more so, I didn't feel like I was making a difference. I didn't feel like I was impacting, touching anyone's life, working on drawings for an apartment building. So I started looking for something else. And I had these parameters I'd set for myself that I wanted to be able to be a working mother. I wanted to do both, that I still wanted to help lots of people. But I also kind of was a little old enough now to ask myself, what am I really good at? And I was really good with math, not necessarily money in math, but math itself. I actually turned out I was very good with money just because my parents spoke to us about money and they lived as if they were poor. So they saved a lot.
Let me stop you there. You're going to segue into my next question.
Yeah. Okay.
But I love that answer. And, just between me and you and everybody listening, I also had a brother, a doctor, lawyer, architect. And what was I going to be?
Right. So you get it.
I get it. The influencer behind every successful woman is someone who believed in her, challenged her, or inspired her. So who had the greatest influence on your journey, and what lasting lesson from that relationship still guides you today?
It had to have been my mother, who was a woman before her time. She was born in 1932 and passed away about 10 years ago. And in her generation, women were women were working, but they were only becoming teachers and nurses.
Yeah.
And my mom had a boy followed by 2 girls. She already had her son, the doctor, lined up. So she told the girls that we could do anything we wanted and that we could go to college for anything we wanted, but we couldn't be a teacher or a nurse. They were off the table.
Good for her.
Yeah, because she said that's all she was allowed to do. And she always thought she would have made a great lawyer. So for me, I would have to say that was my greatest influence and supporter. Now, that said, Frankie, they were not happy initially when I shirked my undergraduate degree to leave architecture, because they didn't see the bigger picture yet. But thankfully—
And they spent a lot of money. And you spent a lot of time.
They did. And they were from a generation of financial insecurity that taught them you got to have a sure thing income wise.
Yeah.
And so when I made that leap, I took a big risk in their mind.
So let's talk about impact and transformation. You've helped hundreds of families, we know that, pursue their financial dreams, but your work goes far beyond those numbers. Can you share a story or a lesson that illustrates how changing someone's relationship with money transformed their confidence, their family, or even their life?
Oh my goodness, yes. Back when I wrote my book, which was about 2011, I had it in my mind that I could help more people around the topic of money and relationships with money by writing a book and then promoting myself on television. And so a client of mine happened to work at CNN at the time, and I spoke with him. He was a fact-checking reporter. And I said, this is my story, and how could I get myself on CNN? And he introduced me to the woman who was booking guests. So I went to lunch with her and I sat down, and of course I told her, the number one thing married couples fight about is money, and there's such a disconnect about talking about money, and it's really a problematic situation. But I have this belief that underneath the math behind how to do the money game, we all have created this relationship with money, good, bad, or ugly, dysfunctional or healthy, and it influences everything we do, saving, investing, etc. And that if you didn't understand that relationship that you had, how could you put into effect the things I tell you to do? You really can't. And she stopped me in the middle of the lunch and she said, I know exactly what you're talking about. I have a horrible relationship with money, and my husband and I are in real trouble. And she said, if you will promise to work with me and my husband, I will get you on CNN. And so I met with her and her husband, and I'm here to tell you that she still says I saved their marriage.
Wow. And she put you on CNN.
I was on CNN within 6 weeks.
Nice. Awesome.
So that was nice too. Yeah.
That's an amazing story. I love that. And I just ask you a question. Why is it so taboo to talk about money? Even with your partner, people think that's so rude, to ask about money. But, I have a girlfriend right now who's dating again.
Yeah.
And she went out with somebody, and, you don't want to, put yourself with somebody who doesn't have a home, maybe, or who has big debt, or, maybe you should know that from the beginning before you get involved, right? So any advice?
It's just a tough, your question is, why is it so taboo? And the only thing I can come up with is why are other subjects taboo? For example, we won't talk about our sex life with just anyone, right? Women don't tell their age. We don't, or I do, but a lot of women try to hold back on their age. Don't ask me what my weight is, right?
That's right. No.
Okay, so somehow, somewhere along the way, and I don't know historically where it comes from, but somehow we got fed the message that talking about money was socially unacceptable. And so we all have kept it quiet. It's not very gentrified to talk about money. I recall walking into someone's home with my sister, raised exactly how I was, which is you can talk about anything at the dinner table and there's nothing taboo. So we walked into the house and she was going on and on about how beautiful. And she goes, if you don't mind me asking, what'd you pay for it? The person was terribly offended. And we walked out of there laughing. We're like, it's public record.
Yeah, yeah.
And now with Zillow or Redfin, you just look it up and there it is.
Yeah, you can just look it up. Yeah.
But it was a horrible thing to bring up. My only advice around it is just like everything, we got to break the taboos. We've got to be the stronger person that doesn't think it's odd, that thinks it is smart to know before entering, maybe not before your first coffee date.
Yeah.
But before marriage, I think people need to lay their cards on the table so we know what we're getting into, because it is true when you marry someone, especially, you're taking two tax-paying entities and combining them into one, usually.
And you already said it was the number one problem. So
it's way up there. It's way up there. Yep.
Yeah. So if you were to let us know what your signature superpower was, because everybody has one. Everyone creates a lasting impact, something that is uniquely their own. What would you say is your greatest superpower, and how has that gift allowed you to make such a meaningful difference in the lives of the clients over the years?
That is such a wonderful question. I think my superpower is my openness to sharing personal topics about myself, my own history, my own experience, and my own journey. And it is in that openness of my sharing or vulnerability that other people feel the wall come down and now they can be vulnerable back. So I don't know. It'd be nice if I could say it in a cute little term, but my openness to share on difficult topics. And
Emer is asking, where does Karen find most people have difficulty with money?
That's also a good question. Not recognizing that they're either innately a saver or a spender, and that most people are on the extreme versus just well balanced in the middle. So the saver knows they're a saver, but what they don't know is that they save because they have such a fear of insecurity of having nothing, that it's so severe, the saving, that it ruins other parts of their relationships with other people, because they're so stuck on saving or being cheap, as we call it, or their frugality leads to cheapness. Right. And then on the other extreme, it's the spenders who say to themselves, I don't know why I'm in debt every month. I don't spend more than's in my checkbook, but somehow I'm chronically in debt. And what they don't see is their math must be messed up, because they are doing something. So it's their inability to be honest about their spending. That's where
okay. So here's a question. Do you find that men and women have different values around money?
Well, I do. However, I wouldn't say men always have this value, women always have this value. I would say all people have values around money. And when you throw two people into a couple relationship where they're trying to share financial responsibility, you're often going to find a male with one value around money and a female with another value. But it isn't always that the females are the spenders and the males are the savers. Mm-hmm. That I have seen that flip-flopped across the board.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So a message to the women. Many women are taking greater ownership of their financial futures, yet money can still feel intimidating or emotionally charged. So if you could sit down with every woman watching, which you hope to do one day, what would you most want to have her understand about money, wealth, and believing in her own financial future?
Yeah, I would say that I'm not sure why women believe that understanding money is a male thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue with any woman that says money's just I'm not good at it, or it's not my thing, that whatever you learned through about 6th or 7th grade math was adequate knowledge to know how to run a budget, therefore a household, and that investing, which is an important part of creating wealth, it doesn't have to be difficult. You simply need to find a person. And I have been told by other people that my superpower is I'm able to take complex topics and make them simple to understand without the person I'm talking to feeling stupid.
Yeah.
So
which
you
is
have
important.
you have to find someone like me who can help you understand the basics of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs, that can show you the time value of money and how the markets worked over a long period of time, so that you can then have trust and faith in moving forward on the investments.
Because it's not just about saving money. The money has to work for you while you're working.
Well, the key to wealth, and my mother taught me this, is that money over time can make money for you. And that a true life plan that ends in a retirement is saving and growing enough money that at that point, the money that money's making for you is enough for you to live on for the rest of your life.
Is there a place in life where there's just no return? Like a lot of women, I find, like we hear about a lot of women getting divorced after 30 years, 40 years, and maybe they walk away with nothing, potentially. They have to start over in their 50s, in their 60s even. Is there a way for them to know that they can retire ever?
So your question is there a point of no return?
Yeah. Is there a point of no return?
I mean, generally,
Never too late.
I'm a huge optimist about everything. So I would have to argue there is never a point of no return. There is a point, though, that you might have to have a dead reckoning with yourself, that I'll not be able to live in the lifestyle I'd become accustomed to. So meaning you certainly can live, and you certainly can retire. You just might have to live well outside of the city that you love, in a much lower cost of living area. You might have to have a roommate to support living, but everyone can solve their financial dilemma. If you talk about a point of no return, people who have accrued unbearable debt, well, that's what bankruptcy's for. And you can come back from that. You can live a modest, quiet, simple life. So you might not get to drive your Mercedes or live in your McMansion, but there can absolutely be.
You can still live.
You can always you can come back and live. You don't have to live in the tent town, right?
Okay. So, amplifying women's voices, G Woman Media, as you know, we believe that every woman has a voice worth hearing. So why do you think it's so important that women support one another, share their knowledge, and use their voices to build stronger communities and create opportunities for the next generation?
There's a lot to that question.
I've
always been amazed that back in high school, middle school and high school, girlfriends were either your besties or your enemies, right? Mm-hmm. And you could make an enemy like that. And we didn't trust the girls. We didn't trust each other. We were always worried someone's trying to get our boyfriend or stab us in the back. And then most women I know, as they go through life and they become more discerning and older, and if they're lucky enough, they realize that their women friends are their best friends. These ladies that they have formed relationship with are the rocks in their lives, right? And so I believe that about women. I believe we are our best supporters. And part of it, Frankie, is that we all went a lot of centuries without others believing in us, with others holding us down, telling us we could only be nurses and teachers,
right?
Telling us we couldn't fight in combat, telling us all the things that have held women back. So women, over time, if you can let them in and nurture friendships, I think you learn that women are the rock that will carry us through, right? So for me, mentoring other women, It's one of my side hobbies, right? Anything I can do to help other financial advisors coming into the business, I want to do that, right?
Thank you to Clara for saying we both look beautiful.
That's so
That's
sweet.
very kind of you.
Thank you, Clara.
I know you mean Karen.
No.
But it's really important for, women. And it's really, lately, the science has even come out that community, that sisterhood is what keeps women living longer.
Wow. Well, how many women friends do you know that all secretly say, hey, when the guys are all gone, we're going to go live together at the nursing home? Or
my bestie said that to me 40 years ago. We said, yeah, when they're gone, we're going to meet. And, we meant it. And we still are best friends today. And
agreed.
It probably will happen.
Agreed. Yes.
But I just absolutely love it. Is there anything you want to tell the youngest generation that's coming up about about anything to do with money, or about maybe having a career like you have? Anything about
that? Well, young people are in some ways so much smarter than us. Like, one thing I notice about this generation, and I have 2 young adult children, they get this work-life balance issue that better than other generations do. And our generation will sometimes look down on them and say, oh, they have no work ethic. But they have a work ethic. It's just they've already learned from our generation, you don't need to kill yourself to do well in work. Yeah. So one thing I would tell young women, if I could, is please don't think financial advising is for men. Because we have a problem in my industry. First of all, we have a shortage of advisors. So there's a window right there into the future. But the thing is that when I went into the business 38 years ago, it was 13% women. And now I think it's 17%.
Wow.
And so I would tell you,
that's slow growth.
This is the most extraordinary career for young women. And if I could grab them early, and I would say, get on a team and learn financial advising out of college through when you're going to start having a family, this career can carry you and allow you to work and be a great mom, wife, everything else you want in your life. Because of course we all want it all. And so I would try to encourage even more women to go down this path. I would probably say, I think there's a great conversation to be had about tapping into what your passion is versus just getting a job. Mm-hmm. And I'm a little on the fence because I'm big about following your passion, but I'm very practical. You got to get a job. If you want to become independent from your family and be on your own, get a job. It's not going to be your dream first round is what I would say. Just get a job, learn to show up every day, learn to pay your bills on time, learn how to run right?
Yep.
Invest in your first 401k, learn those skills, learn how corporate America works. Now, maybe over time, you might end up deciding to start your own business or go down the corporate path, but please don't believe you were going to find your passion right there on that first job.
So Emer is asking, what do women have to do to get into business, and are the top blocks you feel they will need to overcome?
Into my business? I'm assuming she means my business.
I'm going to say your business. I think so. I would say into your business.
So, getting into my business, it's always helpful to have a finance degree or some type of business degree. Or just if you have a background in sales, you're already working, but you have a background in sales. Those are the skill sets that would be important, sales skill sets. Hurdles are, you've got the same hurdles the guys have. Let me be frank, it's a tough business, but no different hurdles for women than for men. There are probably some advantages to being female and disadvantages to being female. Same thing with the men. The advantage that I see, though, for women, I have watched for 30 years them trying to teach the men how to ask the deep, meaningful questions. And no one had to teach me that because I'm a woman. If I meet you and I'm going to talk one-on-one with you, by the end of my conversation, I'm going to know if you're married, if you have kids, what the kids' names are, how many grandkids, do you have dogs? That's just how women are.
Yeah.
We dig in, right? So
Yeah.
I think women also are naturally more trustworthy and naturally more nurturing. That's our mommy gene. Even if we don't become moms,
Yeah.
we nurture, we care. And if you're talking to people about their money, that comes straight through,
They
because
want you to
generally
care.
they want you to
care.
care. They
Yeah,
want
they
you
want
to
you to
care.
care.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, closing,
Yeah.
Karen, thank you again for sharing all this amazing wisdom and reminding us that true wealth
Sure.
is, you know, isn't just tied and measured by what's in our bank accounts, but really about the confidence, clarity, and freedom that we create in our lives. And that's really, really important. It
Right.
has been an honor having you with us today.
Been great to be here.
Everyone, a woman with a voice influences her world, but a woman with a platform changes it. This has been a G Woman Media Voices of Influence. I'm Frankie Picasso, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us
Thanks,
today.
Frankie. Thank
Thank
you.
you.